Welcome to the podcast that's designed to fuel your success in selling technology solutions. I'm your host, Josh Lopresto, SVP of Sales Engineering at Telarus, and this is Next Level Biz Tech. Hey everybody, welcome back. We got an interesting track for you today. We're talking about victory and defeat, real life cases of security and cloud transformation. We get asked a lot, what are these things really like? What are these deals really like? And so we thought we'd create this track for you. And on with us today, longtime friend of the family, Mr. Adam Burke, VP of Sales of Quest Technologies. Welcome on, man.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Awesome to be here. Excited to, when I got the call to jump on, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Can't wait. So looking forward to it.
I know. Crazy we haven't done this yet. I'm excited to have you on for the first time. So we'll, if you don't screw this up, we'll have to have you on for many more in the future.
Right on.
So I always like to kick this off with backstories. So walk us through this. I know you've got a cool backstory, how you got in this field, kind of where you started out, and anything windy path along that journey is helpful.
Yeah, so I got involved in the channel about 14 years ago. My family started the company Quest Technology Management. Our legal name is Quest Media and Supplies. So my parents started out of our garage back in '82. So I was born in '83. So it's kind of been part of my life since I've been around. After college, I decided to do a brief stint. I went into college September of 2001. So if you remember that time frame, some things happened in the world, and I made the decision to go the ROTC path and be an infantry officer, take commission as a second lieutenant, did some time with the 101st Airborne, got some platoon leadership and some executive officer time, and then I left the Army as a captain in 2010. Awesome job, but was kind of more of a volunteer approach, and then do a couple of years and then go get back to normal life. And that was kind of my plan. So got out, and it's funny. I knew I was going to come back to Quest, but I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing. Nepotism is great, but you got to produce. So I got out. I finished up my Army time at Fort Benning in Georgia, and which is kind of close to Atlanta. So my dad and I have always been close. We both always really enjoy road trips. So he flew into Atlanta, Georgia, and I packed up everything from Fort Benning, had my dog in the car, sent the wife home on a plane, and we drove the truck. I went to pick up my dad, and he drove with me across the United States. Made it back home in 36 hours from Georgia to Sacramento, California. And honestly, we could have done it in half the time. But my wife and my mom, by the time we got to New Mexico, they told us, you guys got to stop. This is ridiculous. Stop. We were on a 3-hour rotation, right? Just burn the gas.
It's like a cannonball run, sounds like.
We were just swapping, listening to CNBC, talking business. It was great. There's no reason. Sleep is for the weak. But anyways, as we were driving, I was sharing with my dad what I did a lot when I was overseas, when I was in Iraq. And when I was over there, it was part of we were doing something called counterinsurgency, so coin operations. And there was the time after the Anwar awakening, if you remember the history of the Iraq war, there was a time when some of the people that we were fighting kind of decided, fighting against the Americans is not necessarily the best plan, not a good life decision. Maybe we join up with them and protect our own regions. So we were operating in these kind of remote patrol bases and working with and paying people who 3 months before may or may not have been trying to blow us up. So it was a weird dynamic. It was a weird, it was over there during it was called the Surge, if you remember, 2007 to 2009. So I was sharing this with my dad, and then we had just entered, if you remember, Phone Plus magazine back in the day, before channel partners, we had just started dipping our toe into this whole telecom world. We've been a VAR and MSP forever, and so we talked about that. We talked about some of the things I did over there as far as working with local local leadership, local people that maybe are, friend, foe, not quite sure. And he said, well, why don't you go try to figure out this channel situation? Like, why don't you go figure out like, hey, who are our friends? Who are our foes? Who can we work with? Like, you did it over there. Like, there's no bullets over here. There's no one blowing up over here. Like, maybe try it out over here. So that was really, we came up with the Quest Partner Program, and our attempt to enter the channel during a drive across America, coming back from Fort Benning. So that was a lot of fun. And we just kind of started building it from there. And I still have some old business plans. They're hilarious. You'll laugh at them, about how I was going to just go out and recruit, 50 partners in the first year. I was just going to get 50 partners to come sell my stuff. That was what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And here's how we're going to sell more stuff. And it didn't exactly work out like that. But that's how we started out. That's how I got involved in the channel.
I love it. I love the history. Definitely a unique history. But it's that, hey, I guess if you can do what you did there, I think to your point, right? It maybe gets a little bit easier over here. Not that there aren't moments of tenseness and passion and deadlines and things like that. But yeah, I think you're primed. I think you're primed and ready.
Yeah. It was a good entry point. So
yeah. And we thank you for your service as well. So love that. Really appreciate that. So let's talk then. Let's talk a little bit about Quest before we get back into counterterrorism and negotiations here. Talk about Quest. How do you go to market? You guys have so many amazing things, and we're many years into this partnership with you guys. But just give us the rundown on Quest and kind of how you guys differentiate.
Yeah, absolutely. So been in business about 42 years. We started out as a value-added reseller, which we continue with that practice today, helping organizations select technology, and purchase different things. It could be, Cisco route switch, Palo Alto, Fortinet, VMware, Microsoft, all the major OEMs and manufacturers. We act as a value-added reseller to help with that. And then we also have a professional services organization with a couple hundred engineers that help with the build, operate, and transfer, right? So helping people, they bought stuff, let's help them put it together. Let's help them get the most out of their investments and then hand it over to their IT teams to manage ongoing. About 25 years ago, we got into the managed services space. So our first customer was a regional bank in Northern California. If you remember Cisco Mars equipment back in the day, they bought a bunch of it, and their network engineer left, and their CFO talked to Tim and Mike and said, hey, can you help us monitor and alert this? And core to our business model, who we are and what we believe in, is that we're an IT company, and how can we help? I know I mentioned, we're a VAR, we're a PS organization, we're a managed services group, we do application development, we do business continuity. Those are all things that we do, but at our core, what we really believe is we're an IT company, and how can we help? And we have a lot of different assets and building blocks in our kit bag, if you will, that can address clients' needs. And that's really what we focus on when we're building out our capabilities. What are our clients looking for help with? And how can we address that need? So if our partners are looking for a certain capability, if their clients are looking for a certain technology, how do we help bring that to market? Folks like you are fantastic. You guys give me a call and say, hey, can you guys do XYZ? And I know, Telarus engineers and people around there always kind of joke around like, yeah, call Adam, he'll say yes. The reason we do say yes is because our organization is built to accommodate a need, right? We didn't build something and then take it to market. We have very, very few skewed offerings, if you will, where it's like, hey, this is the way we think you should do this. There's multiple paths and multiple ways to help organizations. And that's really key to how we go to market. It's as simple as we're an IT company, and how can we help?
Yeah, I love that. And I think I'm trying to remember when this was. It was actually one of the first events that we ever did, I think launching part of the security practice maybe 6 years ago that you and I did. We had a big ex-CIA, FBI buddy of mine in there, and it was just kind of eye-opening to see that side and some of those things. And since then, I think we've always looked at you guys as such an incredible wedge of, there's so many different options of where you can help these partners and these customers, there's a list of, hundreds of OEMs in some capacity here that we can wedge in. And I think that's here we are, 6+ years into the partnership, and we're still to this point, right? We just know that if we text, we might not know that you do this, and then we find out that you do this. And so I would constantly encourage people that are listening to this, man, there's going to be so many things that we talk about. It's just going to be a tip of the iceberg. But you've been super helpful in helping these partners kind of wedge in, and then that always snowballs into, well, what about this? What about this? Even within those same customers. So love the ability that you give the partners in those accounts.
Yeah, it's really the partners, and the partners have been amazing, telling us what their clients are looking for help with, right? So we don't necessarily have a crystal ball as far as what the right solution set's going to be. But all of a sudden, if you address a client's need or a customer's need, and then you follow that up with, hey, if you ever have a would you, could you kind of question, give me a call and we'd love to work that through with you, right? Like, we'd love to understand, like, okay, totally get it. Like, we had one client partner of yours who they really liked the Cisco Meraki stack, and they were rolling out Cisco Meraki, but they also had some single sign-on capabilities and some other like layered security, some SaaS-based and some ZTNA things that they wanted to bolt on. Like, so they were trying to do a Cisco Meraki Okta integration with, I forget there was another identity management feature that they're trying to bolt on as well. And they needed a way to help the Okta instance communicate with their local Meraki appliances and things like that. And we just, rather than trying to sell them something new, we brought with the partner and plugged in a senior, CCIE level network engineer, and we were able to help them integrate those solutions as opposed to rip and replace everything. So it's hey, what are you trying to do? Like, what's the challenge you're struggling with? Like, the hard thing when you're communicating this to partners is there's not necessarily a PDF that explains that solution that I just talked about. There's no like sales brief that says, oh yeah, if you're trying to do a single sign-on solution integration with 3-year-old Okta technology or 3-year-old Meraki licensing, and then it's also got a call back to a Microsoft instance in the cloud. There's no like one-page sales brief that you can hand a partner and be like, hey, go do this. Like, it's really that conversation. You got to understand, hey, what are the building blocks we're dealing with here?
Yeah, and I think the way that I like to equate that is that you've got knowledge and you've got resources that, we always talk about, oh, is this an inch deep or a mile wide? I would say you guys are 5 miles wide and about 5 miles deep, right? And I know, I don't want to come across saying, we're everything to everybody, but what you have is if you've got Meraki knowledge, you've got Okta knowledge, you've got network knowledge, you've got cloud knowledge, right? There's just naturally knowledge in those proficiencies, of which comes with, the common OEMs and then some non-common. So, it always lends itself well in those conversations for sure.
Yeah, and core to our belief there too, one of the areas that we differentiate is we don't necessarily believe that we have to be the experts in everything. There are fantastic people out there, and there are customers out there who are looking for connections to the appropriate technicians. Now, Quest went through the .com bust with everyone else, and back in 2000, we had a couple hundred employees, and when that boom bust cycle hit, it was really, really painful from a business standpoint, having to let go of people who you just don't have work for them at the time, right? So like, we've made the decision as we've grown and as we've scaled that, when you need resources, you coordinate resources to attack a certain project at that time. You don't necessarily have to take the business model from 20 years ago and have 100 engineers sitting on your staff waiting for work. Like, you can do that. That's a method. It's dangerous. It's a lot of overhead and it's very leveraged. So it's really that it's finding that balance. Like, hey, there's a great, gig economy out there and really good resources who want to run their own business. Tag them in, bring them under project management, get the job done, and then keep moving.
So let's look back here at some lessons learned. So go back 5, 10, 15, however many years you want to go back. Give me a hard lesson that you've learned on your own, or maybe something you got from a great mentor.
Yeah, so check your ego at the door. if you're in sales or you're in partnerships, you're going to and you've coached me through this. I think when we first met, I think before you were part of Talaris, I think you kind of helped let me know, hey, this is the way, some partners communicate, and this is the way some partners like to go through deals. Like, they're not necessarily going to agree with your approach to it, Adam, and don't send that email. Like,
Delete.
so like, just delete the email, take a walk. Checking your ego at the door, trying to find the common areas where you can work together on things and succeed together. Those are huge lessons that I consistently learn over and over again. Don't have that definitely dialed in perfectly, but and then picking up the phone and communicating. Just pick up the phone and talk to a partner about what they're trying to do, or a customer. Hey, I'm sensing some hesitancy on this path we're on, right? There's something going on here. Can we talk about it? They're just people like everyone else. There's nothing nefarious going on. It's just sometimes people are just trying to work out the details of, hey, they want to pay it this way, or they're looking for this type of comp model, or this happened to them two business cycles ago, and they don't want to be in that same place again. So it's just establishing that kind of that personal engagement with folks.
So capping on kind of that thought, right? Check your ego. You and I are always talking about, sharing books and the history. I think you have such a unique history in this space. There's the book that's always come up in our space, by Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference, right? And he did similar background to yours, counterterrorism, negotiating lives for money and things like that. Besides that, we're just throwing out a good book recommend here. What are some skills, because I can't ask this to everybody because not everybody has this background, but what are some of those skills that you learn that you kind of take with you to the business world, talking to customers, doing deals, things like that?
Yeah, so that's a great book. I probably should reread that. It's been a couple of years. But one of the things that I definitely appreciate about that, and that I've taken, I've experienced personally, is when you're having a conversation around potential challenges in a deal, right? Or, partners and customers might not always agree on how something's going to be supported or delivered, or SLAs. Call out those gaps. If there's any gray area, it's gonna come up at some point in the negotiation. And if it doesn't come up in the negotiation, sometimes the salesperson is like, whew, all right, got away with one, right? Got that across the goal line. But whatever that gap is, if there's a gap in roles and responsibilities, or if there's a gap in like, hey, how's this actually gonna get paid for? Or what's the actual budget of this? Or I know you said you were okay with time and material, but you issued a $10,000 PO. What happens if time and material goes over $10,000? Like, you'll hear people freak out on a sales call if you ask those uncomfortable questions. But if you don't have that clarity is going to come about one way or another. So you can either be a little uncomfortable up front, or you can deal with it after the sale's done and operations, and then that can be a challenge too. And then really important from that book is the idea of ending a conversation or ending the call with the statement that you want to work together, you want to see through this, you want to basically collaborate, and you appreciate the opportunity to work together. That was something that in that book he calls out. You end your conversation with that. Oftentimes people will start the negotiation process with that, but by the end of that, legal review call or whatever, you basically, end the call like gritting your teeth and saying, have a blessed day. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Just remember what you're there for. You're there to help the customer. Your peers, you're mutually there. You have something to offer, they have something to offer. That's probably one of the best takeaways from that book is I've seen is like, hey, end the conversation restating why you're all there. What's the purpose of you guys even being on that call?
Love it. All right. Let's talk about, back to this idea, this theme of victory and defeat and transformation. Let's talk about cloud first. So, I mean, you guys are, for anybody that hasn't worked with you, obviously you're a Swiss Army knife. Okay. So we talked about wedge services, but walk me through an example where maybe you came into it and the customer was defeated and you helped on that kind of cloud transformation. So maybe the business problems, the tech stack, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we got brought in by a partner to an opportunity that was it wasn't dead in the water, but they were really struggling with how they were going to manage, deployment of about 200 firewalls. It was 30 countries. They had selected and they had invested time in going through different technology reviews, and they had selected FortiGate firewalls in HA pairs at about 200 sites. But when they were going through their other negotiations around how they were going to integrate that, they had a Splunk instance and they had a very established security operations team. And they were working on how they were going to get the FortiGate and the FortiManager to push logs, and they were going through all sorts of architectural design challenges and things like that. And that was all good. But at the end of the day, they were struggling with how they were going to finance the deployment, and then they couldn't figure out how to actually manage the support, operation, patching, and physical dispatch of all the different locations. So it wasn't necessarily a technology challenge. They had a 24/7 SOC. I think they were on I believe they were on a PagerDuty ticketing system, and they were tying in with a Splunk instance, and then they were obviously standardized on the Fortinet, FortiGate, and FortiAnalyzer features. But they got 200 sites around the world in 30 different countries, and they had 18 months to get this job done. And we were brought in to just be the day two support. So they brought us in hey, Quest, they got to source these from a national VAR. They're going to tie these in with their existing SOC analyst team. And, day two, what's it cost for Quest to manage these firewalls? And we got brought in and we went through the pricing exercise, but then we were told, yeah, they don't know how to distribute these. They don't know how to get them to be deployed. We said, well, we can help deploy. So we have project management teams. We do infrastructure services. We can cable up the DMARCs. We can extend it and drop those in and build them into the 200 sites. And that was one of those moments that every salesperson hates to hear, oh, I didn't know you guys did that. Shoot, yeah, we do that. And then, our rep who was working with the partner also said, well, doesn't sound like you guys necessarily have the Fortinet folks on staff. They were dealing with professional services from the vendor, but that wasn't a long-term solution. They didn't have any full-time employees who were going to be actually managing this. They had the SOC analysts and they had the Splunk and the PagerDuty and the network operations team. It was a Fortune 100 company, but they didn't have resources. So they're going to have to hire people and train people. And so, our rep and the partner said, well, would you like us to manage, maintain, and support these and provide the whole asset as a service? So rather than just helping with the deployment or helping with the day two, we also helped, because we have that VAR background and we have that MSP background. We were able to help source all the hardware, deliver it as a service over I believe it was a 5-year contract. Where we manage the licensing, we manage the patching, we manage the dispatch, we manage the deployment, and we deployed 220 sites over 30 countries, and I think we finished it up about 4 months ahead of schedule. So much so that the procurement guys called us up and said, "Hey, could you guys, just hold certain aspects of your billing, because we didn't think you guys would be operational by this time, and this isn't budgeted for next quarter for that part of the payment." We said, "Yeah, sure, that's."
Sounds like sandbagging to me. I'm all for it.
Yeah, so they're like, well, we didn't really have that budgeted to have you guys done. So we had a great deployment, great opportunity, but it was having that conversation hey, you got the tech stack figured out, you have your deployment figured out, but there's a couple gaps there. And that's really where Quest can flourish and help people hey, it doesn't all necessarily, work out exactly the way you plan it. So that's where we love to get engaged and help with that outcome conversation.
Awesome. What's great about that is that if you look back, maybe traditional thinking or years ago, products that we had available in the channel, that might have to be 3, 4, 5 different vendors that we bring in. And what you've given the ability to do in that for that partner is cool. One vendor makes the customer's life easy. They don't have to, figure out who's coordinating what. You've got a lot of different components in that, valuable components, but it's being managed by your group, and so that makes it easier. And then, of course, who do you think that customer calls next time they need another complicated project? Right? They're calling the Swiss Army knife. So I love awesome example there.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun, and one of the most exciting things that I think that partners don't give themselves enough credit for is they're in the room with the people making those decisions, and they're trusted to be in that room. And they might not be the expert on application development or managed firewall services or cloud migration, but you're in the room with the people making those decisions, and they don't have all the answers, especially in the middle market, especially in that 100 to 1,000 user base group, which, by the way, there's 10,000 of those companies in the United States right now, 10,000 middle market accounts that don't necessarily have all the assets or resources that they need, and they're looking for people to help them with those decisions. And so I don't think partners give themselves enough credit to the way they can really position themselves to, hey, I don't have knowledge exactly about this, but give me a minute, I'll go find someone who can help you. Yeah. And that's an amazing opportunity. I mean, we're seeing more and more investment in the channel. We're seeing people come after that potential revenue out there. It's changing the game for sure. And I think partners really need to recognize you have an amazing opportunity to get involved in some huge, massive deals if you just scratch the surface, just ask the question.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could probably come back and run our whole entire episode on this about how many different examples of transformations that you guys have made. I mean, we're talking about cloud and security, but I think about some of the other conversations that we've had lately about your ability, that was Fortinet and management and licensing, right, which is a huge thing on its own, but shift this just for a second now to infrastructure, right? Whether that's Prem, that's VMware, that's Azure Stack, that's AWS Outpost, that's hyperscalers natively. I mean, you've got depth and resources in all of those areas too, right?
Yeah. So we built and operate. We built and operate 2 of our own data centers in Northern California, and then we operate out of about 16 other sites around the country where we've deployed private architecture, private instances, Azure Stack, targets for backups. And then all those sites are, could be interconnected, and we have clients who have express routes and direct connects to the hyperscalers too, right? So we've had a long-term Microsoft practice. We work in the AWS world, pretty robust application development team. And all of these, I don't know, 15 years ago, we talked about like the convergence of things, like, the MSP world and the telecom worlds are going to converge. That's happened. But with applications and kind of software dominating everything, security is touching everything. Cloud is everywhere. Like, people are just doing it without even knowing. And we're kind of there helping them either migrate, manage, or support it, or just helping them design, hey, what are we going to do with this data? You're seeing artificial intelligence and those types of programs getting launched, and huge investments in chipsets right now, and people trying to figure out how to capitalize on that. We're trying to help organizations just understand what they have available to them right now and what they could do next.
So we're going to shift this to, we're going to keep down this combat theme for just a second. So if anybody's not heard of, there's a large gentleman out there by the name of Jocko Willink, who we've talked about as well, ex-Navy SEAL. Go watch anything that he does, and it's terrifying and inspirational at the same time. But one of these themes he carries is extreme ownership. And so, throughout one of these books, he talks about the 4 laws of combat. He talks about cover and move, simplify, prioritize, and decentralized command. Is there a parallel? You've been in so many conversations, right? As you've translated this down to the business side, is there a parallel there with those and kind of the technology decision track?
Yeah. So the simplification is in the four laws of combat. Um, that's core to our business model and how we try to communicate our strategy and be available, right? So very simple model. We're an IT company, and how can we help, right? If an organization needs help and is asking for help and is okay spending money for help, everyone on our team is empowered to engage, get contracts going, get engineers on the phone, ask questions. We have a model within our business where we're a very flat organization. And we have, people say like open door policies, but like anyone can raise their hand and be like, hey, we talked about it earlier. There's a gap in this understanding of what we're doing for this client or what this client thinks we're going to be doing for them. And it could be a potential risk for both of us. Like, I see a problem here. Can we talk about it? Anyone can do that. That could be an inside sales rep who's got, 1 year of experience, or one of our senior national channel managers who's been here for 20 years, right? Everybody has the ability to do that and to make those decisions. So that decentralization of command is the idea of, hey, I have a left limit and a right limit, and I can operate within that lane. And my commander's intent is go find organizations that need our help. This is Tim talking. Go find organizations that need our help, that have funds to pay for us to help them, and are okay working with Quest. If you get 3 yeses for those 3 simple rules within our organization, they have money to work with us, they have budget to work with us, they understand they have a problem that they need to address, okay? And I'm totally blanking on the third one. Money.
Decisions, decentralized command, just simplify. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, and keeping it simple there. So those 3 rules within our organization, right? They have pain, they're okay working with us, and they're okay paying us for our time.
Yeah.
Everyone on our team is empowered to engage directly. That's one of the reasons, and you guys have worked with us a lot on this. That's one of the reasons I believe our incident response and incident containment is so effective, because we don't overcomplicate it, right? It's ir@questsys.com. We have a 24/7 team that responds to those emergency requests. And whether you're a customer or not, we're launching an engagement within sometimes as fast as 15 minutes and getting engineers on the phone, talking to non-customers, people who have never met us before. Because right now, back to we're an IT company and how can we help? There are organizations getting breached, hacked, and in deep trouble all the time, 24/7. We're about to go into a holiday week. Probably going to be some people getting hit.
Yeah.
It just happens. You got to be very, very responsive. And in order to be very responsive, you have to keep it very, very simple. Request comes in, ticket gets opened, lead manager on duty calls the person, understands exactly what's going on. We either launch or we don't, based on their ability to engage. So,
awesome. Love that.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Jocko. And by the way, I have a personal goal that at some point he will be a speaker at a Polaris Partner Advisory Council or partner event. And if I have to sell, multiple $1-million deals in order to help fund that, we're gonna get Jocko as a speaker at one of your guys' events.
I love it. I'm down to support that theme. All right, let's talk here. Let's talk about AI for a minute. So, we're talking about transformation. Obviously, there's a lot of transformation around that. So we've been talking about productization. I mean, from your perspective, though, where's the angle here that you see? You got this battle the customers are going to face, but where's the opportunity here to really help with as you see the next couple of years of AI transformation?
So I think we're kind of at the top of the initial hype cycle as far as things are really ramping up. A lot of investment. You got Microsoft, you got Google, you got the big Goliaths out there duking it out on the investment side of the house, and you have Wall Street incentivizing. I don't know if you follow Sales Bro, but he had a really funny meme the other day about like, someone coming out for their sales call and just saying AI and then walking back and their stock price, doubles.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of in the spot right now where the investment and the market is going to dump a ton of money into this. I don't think that people have figured out exactly how to monetize it yet. But that's AI telling me to shut up.
That's me. That's me tapping the desk too hard and the mixer went wild. But no, sorry, go ahead.
No, so I think we're early, but I think that organizations can prepare by classification of data, understanding where their data is, being very, very proactive in reading the T's and C's of the agreements that they're signing, and understanding who owns what. I think a lot of us kind of go to the default terms and conditions, agree, when we look at our own private, data and what's being shared. There's IT professionals in the security space who have TikTok on their personal phones. Sure. Okay. That's a method. I don't know why you would do that, but people do. So like there's a lot out there around data classification and how you can manage what you have. And I think it gets back to, getting the basics right, understanding where your data resides, who has access to it, how your people are going to manage it, what you want to share with AI, what you want to build with it. It's an application like any other, but it's definitely got some, pretty cool capabilities. Part of me is kind of scared about it because I don't think people, fully respect the capabilities of the platforms they have enabled right now. And I think AI is going to 10x, some of the capabilities and some of the speed of what they're doing. And I don't know. I think having stupid people do things quickly is a bad idea. And I think that, we sometimes get so excited about the capabilities, we don't necessarily respect what it took to get there. And yeah, I'm still a little bit on the fence around, is this a good thing or not? I'm not quite sure it's a good thing.
Yeah, we're preparing for the tsunami one way or another. The good thing, I think, is what it all translates to is there's a lot of areas here that we can help. And there are many people that can help with that, right? Yourself included, in what this journey is. Data classification, obviously, I think that's a huge one. Infrastructure, the list goes on and on. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
And it can be used for good too. I mean, machine learning, like we were an early adopter in kind of the next generation, next generation anomaly-based detection for antivirus, right? So you used to have the old school, everyone's probably heard this analogy a million times. We used to have the old school, like signature-based threat detection, right? Hey, this is a duck, and my signature said that the ducks are bad, so block the duck. Like, that was an old way of doing it back in, McAfee days. And you had huge, boot storms that would happen when you launched your VDI and everyone had a certain antivirus on it, and that would fire up and tank your systems. And we lived through that. And then we went to the more of the very, very thin anomaly-based detection. It's basically just machine learning, like, hey, this code, this operating, this system right here could be potentially malware. It's got an executable that I've never seen before. We're just going to block that. We don't even know what it is, but we're going to block that until we know more. That is powerful. That's machine-based learning. That's anomaly detection. That's something that's, could be used for good. It could also, of course, the bad actors have access to the same tools we do. So,
yeah. All right. So final thought here. So we've already kind of talked about, future and where we're at, where we're going, what's coming, how we're going to enable that, how we're going to help transform. But take us home here with, advice for partners, right? You've clued into a million different ways that you guys can help. And so if I'm a partner and I'm listening, I want to go a little bit deeper into security or cloud transformation, my customers, my new prospects. What's your advice? Is there a track that you send me down? Is there a place that you send me to get educated? Are there questions that you want people to be asking to open up these doors more? What's your take there?
Yeah, I just have advised the partners to be very curious about what their clients are dealing with, and then talk to other people within the organization around struggles that they're having, because end users are great signals for areas that might be struggling in IT. Cybersecurity is always something that people are challenged with. We run what we call checkup programs, where we come in and we kind of do a right seat ride evaluation of 7 areas where we find people typically get breached. Right, there's usually 6 or 7 areas where if you don't have those aspects of your technology tied up and in a disciplined manner maintained, it's a potential breach area. So get a little bit of knowledge in areas where people get hit, areas where your clients are struggling, and just be curious about what they're doing. You don't have to be an expert in cybersecurity to ask the question, hey, who manages your firewalls for you? You don't have to be an expert to ask the question, hey, have you guys tested your backups in the last? Just common sense kind of approaches. You don't have to know speeds and feeds to ask common sense questions. And a lot of end users will appreciate a third party coming in and helping them identify areas where they can improve. Some might not, but my biggest our most successful engagements happen when someone asks the question, hey, would you like some help with that?
Love it. Love it. Well, I'm out of questions, man. Lots of great nuggets as I knew there would be. Adam, I really appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. The opportunity. It was a lot of fun. So thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. As always, just keep in mind, these episodes are out there dropping every Wednesday. So wherever you're listening, Spotify, Apple Music, go subscribe. You get that information before anybody else does. And so stay in tune for this one and the next one coming up. So that wraps us up for today. Mr. Adam Burke, VP of Sales at Quest Technologies. Victory and defeat, real-life cases of security and cloud transformation. I'm your host, Josh Lepresto, SVP of Sales Engineering at Telarus.
Next Level BizTech has been a production of Telarus Studio 19. Please visit Telarus.com for more information.